Hello and welcome to DerikDoesAstreaming. I'm Derek, in case you didn't already know, and today I'm going to be doing my first actual live stream. I'm going to be playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. So if you'll notice in my profile, I definitely made it look like I was going to be playing a lot of Gundam. Originally I was, but I wanted to do a game that kind of represented my experiences and a lot of other people's experience as a bisexual person, and also as somebody who's neurodivergent. Three Houses is a wonderful title for that. I was just playing it recently. Oh, let me see what's going on with the audio. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear the game better? What's going on? Yeah, I've been having some weird technical issues with it today. Okay, so the game audio is off. I was having that problem earlier too, where it was kind of like picking up from multiple sources. Let me see. So my mic is working. Let me check this real quick. I am going to remove that. Okay, how is the game audio sounding now? Does it sound like it's coming from like multiple places, or that is definitely a possibility. Let's see what I can do. So it looks like my quality is fine. Blip noises. Huh. I'm gonna just turn the volume down. There's probably, sadly, not a lot I can do about it right now. So at the moment, I'm gonna try to just continue with the game as is. Hopefully things will sort themselves out. If not, I'll figure it out for the next session. Alright, so I'm gonna get ready to get started. So once again, this is Fire Emblem Three Houses. I chose the game specifically because there are characters that can kind of relate to that neurodivergent spectrum, whether that's people on the autism spectrum, people with ADHD. There's characters that clearly struggle with depression, with anxiety, with various different sort of neurodivergent disorders, and there's also a lot of canonically queer characters. Now, because I am doing the focus on canonically queer characters as well as those that are dealing with neurodiversion, my first playthrough is definitely not going to be of my favorite house, the Golden Deer, just because they're the most heterosexual group, despite the fact that everyone looks queer and they're all dressed in rainbow colors. But yeah, let's get started with the game. So you'll notice here that it's offering for me to start with a New Game Plus mode. I'm actually not going to start with the New Game Plus just because that's going to give me kind of an unfair advantage for anyone who's watching the game for the first time. So it's going to offer for me to carry over my file. I'm not going to. We're going to do something completely from the beginning. I'm going to start on normal mode, which is the most easy. Now, Fire Emblem Three Houses has something that a lot of older Fire Emblem games don't. There's a casual difficulty level. What this does is whenever you lose your characters in battle, they're simply wounded, they retreat, you can use them again in the next battle. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a sense of urgency by playing on the classic Fire Emblem mode, which is classic. If a unit falls in battle, they're gone. They either die or they're injured and they can't fight for the remainder of the game. And we won't be playing online. Alright, let's get started. Yes, permadeath mode. And we have this nice little cinematic here. This is actually the first Fire Emblem game to be made for consoles since Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which I believe came out in 2006 or 2007. Welcome in, the Warden of Super Jail. Hope you are doing well tonight after playing Cookie from work. I have a few other people coming in and dropping in later, so hopefully the chat will be a fun place to be. Feel free to message in at any time, feel free to chat with each other, feel free to ask any questions while we're playing the game. Right now we're just going to let the cinematic play out. And once this is over, so because this is my first playthrough, I'm going to actually let the characters, go through all of their dialogue. I've been playing this game a lot. I've probably logged over 500 hours on it at this point. And I have a tendency to just kind of skip through a lot of dialogue to go straight through the story. The downside to skipping through dialogue in this is that there's a lot of optional things that specifically come from how you use certain characters. So we're definitely going to keep a slow pace and let everyone actually talk in this. So right now this opening cinematic, this takes place probably 1,000 years before the official game begins. What we're witnessing is Nemesis, a human, and Saros, who is a Nabatian, which is a type of... they're kind of like dragons. Fire Emblem normally has what's called the manatees. They look like people, but they transform into dragons. So Saros is, of course, one of those Nabatians. And there's a war going on. You don't know the full story behind the war. You actually have to play through all 4 of the game's storylines in order to discover it. And even then, there's information that wasn't released until after the DLC came out. Oh no, the cinematic audio is too loud. Let me see if I can get that turned down. I also have my mic kind of far away from me. I'm probably going to move that closer to me in just a moment. Am I sounding better now, or is the cinematic still louder? Oh, is there an echo coming through? Let me see. Turn that off. Turn that off. Alright, can you still hear both the game and from me? Awesome. Good. Okay. Yeah, I had a problem earlier. I actually had to turn the volume off on my TV first. So I have this set up to my computer in order to record and stream everything, but I also have it set up to my monitor in order to see the game for myself. Which is why I'm also kind of rotating back and forth, because I have this on my TV screen, but I also have it here. Alright. So as long as everybody can hear everything good, we're going to get started with the game. I'm going to set this to auto advance, so we're going to let the characters talk at their own pace. Yeah, I can kind of hear the clippiness of the game audio myself now. Alright, so first decision, guys. Are we going to play as a male or a female Byleth? And since you guys are going on in the chat, you're viewing right now, I'm going to let you decide. Yeah, the game audio is not coming in well. The game itself doesn't have any problems. I think it's just... it's not working perfectly with my Elgato right now. I need to figure out what to do with it in the settings. It also has a little bit of latency going on, so it's moving a little bit slower on the game itself than it is on my screen. Alright, so we'll be playing female Byleth. Is this form correct? We'll go with yes. So when the game was initially released, like I said, there is going to be a prioritization of, exploring bisexual themes in this. They're not a crucial element of the game itself. We're going to go with the I'm immortal dialogue, because if we don't, this little girl right here is going to get very angry at us, and you don't want her to be angry at you. So when the game was initially released, Byleth had 5 same-sex options for a female character and only 1 for the male. They've since added 2 more, but almost all of them are relegated to 2 different storylines. My favorite storyline, oddly enough, no queer characters, no neurodivergent characters. Very odd. But yeah, we're going to go with a female Byleth here.
Possess a day of birth as well. Beneath which moon and on what day?
And so along with her name, we also get to pick our birthday, which doesn't have any major impact on the game. And the birthday that you set up might not actually be your birthday. But we're going to go ahead and go with this one for storyline reasons.
Wonders never cease. It seems
Oh look, we share a birthday with the weird little green-haired girl.
it may be time for you to know. It is almost time to begin.
Oh. Okay, so I think one thing that's going on is that my game screen is running a lot slower than my actual OBS is, and like more than a second delay. I'm seeing things a lot later than they're actually happening. So hopefully you guys are still able to follow along. There's not a lot I can do to edit it right now, but in the near future we will definitely try to get that sorted out.
Life is part of the job for mercenaries like us.
I am hearing my audio echo as well.
Okay, time to get moving.
And it wasn't doing this just a little while ago.
Good grief. Outside. Gerald. Sorry. What happened?
Please. We wouldn't bother you with a situation not dying.
What do a bunch of kids like you want at this hour?
Bandits. So kind. Support.
Bandits?
So, on the stream, it looks like you guys are seeing Byleth speaking to Gerald. Does that sound correct? Because right now it's showing that my actual game is at the point where I'm meeting the 3 lords for the first time. But the game itself, streaming on Twitch, is really, really far behind. Okay, good. So it's showing slow on my computer screen, but everything is actually at time with my OBS. Gotcha. Perfect. All right. Oh, so we're going to save in the second file here just because I have one last file on my New Game Plus mode that I'm trying to finish. There we go. All right. So this is going to be the very first fight in the game. I'm planning on playing through the prologue and the first 2 chapters of the game tonight, just because the prologue and chapter 1 are kind of short. They're just kind of getting you introduced to the world. You actually have kind of tutorial modes going on all the way up until, I believe, the 7th chapter before you're caught up with all of the different gameplay elements. But I am going to be playing, I'm going to be trying to stream daily, not like every single day, but as much as possible. And playing through about a chapter a day. I'll also be posting the videos on YouTube afterwards, which is why I have them recording right now. So that way I can get through it. The game is, depending on which storyline you're playing, is anywhere between 18 and 22 chapters, so it's kind of a lengthy game. It would actually probably only be about 5-6 hours, if not for the fact that each chapter has a lot of more traditional RPG elements that aren't normal to Fire Emblem. But yeah, so here we're going to learn about movement. Basically, you just select your movement, your unit, you move them to the enemy, and then when you're right next to them, you can attack. So we're going to get introduced to our characters. We're going to first move up Edelgard here. And let's just look at her stats real quick. So Edelgard has a lot of strength and a lot of charm. She's a little slow in all her other stats. You can see right here, she has the minor crest of Saros. This is going to... So some of your characters have crests, not all of them do. Edelgard's crest, when she uses combat arts, which is a special type of attack, will sometimes raise her might, which is kind of like her weapon damage. She, of course, has all of her little stats here, and you can actually see what each stat provides the characters. She has a unique skill, Imperial Lineage. It's going to multiply the experience she earns by 1.2. She also has Sword Prowess, Axe Prowess, and Authority level 1. So these give her bonuses with specific weapons. Authority is also a stat which allows the characters to control what are called battalions. So in this game, you can actually assign certain character. Edelgard being evil is up for debate. So one of the things that makes this game a lot different from other Fire Emblem games, you actually have an option as to which path you're going to take. So here we're going to meet Dimitri. Each of these characters is the lords of one of 3 different houses. And you are going to decide early on in the game which house you side with. So the storyline you get and the perspectives that you're getting are going to be a lot different depending on who you're playing as. But yeah, so we have Dimitri. He is Royal Lineage. It's the same skill as Edelgard's. All 3 of them have basically the same skills, but they have slightly different stats and slightly different weapon specializations. So Dimitri's really good at swords and lances. Edelgard, on the other hand, is good at swords and axes. And then, of course, we have Claude. Claude is good at swords and bows. Claude is an archer lord. He's the only one of the 3 characters that isn't a royal. So he has the Crest of Regan. Sometimes it's going to deal 30% HP. He'll restore 30% HP based on the damage he dealt when using combat arts. And Dimitri here has the Minor Crest of Blothid. It's occasionally going to double his attack, meaning that Dimitri hits really, really hard. Finally, we have our playable character here, Byleth. So this is the main character of the game. We don't know what Byleth's crest is yet. We find out later. Byleth is kind of a jack of all stats, although he or she, so we'll go with they, tends towards strength more than anything else. Byleth is initially going to be good at swords, brawling, which is like hand fighting, and authority, and it comes with the unique skill Professor's Guidance. So this one gives Byleth a boost to stats, experience earned by 1.2, just like the Lords. Byleth also increases the experience of characters standing next to them. Alright, so we're going to get started with fighting. We'll move Edelgard up here. She's going to hit this guy with her axe. And boom. We then learn about weapon durability. So as you use your weapons, they start to take damage. Once they hit 0, the weapons break. Most Fire Emblem games, when your weapon breaks, it's gone. This one, the broken item actually stays equipped. In other words, you can get the weapon repaired. You'll probably want to switch equipment because broken weapons have reduced stats. Alright, so we're going to send a Byleth now just to get this kill. There we go. Right. This is also showing us the battle menu. So you can do a number of things. You can check out your units here. This provides you a whole bunch of overview on them. It also makes it easier to kind of find them. So you can click on a unit. It'll take you over to them. We can also check out conditions. So here it's showing we have to defeat the enemy commander in order to win. If any of our units fall in battle, we lose. So we'll get a game over. We also have the guide here. This is going to show you all of the different little tutorial information that you pick up throughout the game. Options, so we can turn combat on, animations off. We can set them to only show up our units or our turn. Assist animations on or off. We can change battle speed, which I am going to switch to fast. Action skip, that keeps the enemies from moving. So we'll get that sorted out. All right, and let's just play from here.
You're in your debt.
Yeah, so tomorrow I'm definitely going to spend some time just trying to figure out what's going on with my audio. That way I can get it set up so that it won't do that anymore. All right, so we'll get Claude moved up here. So our lords have the opportunity to talk. And there we go. So that'll be it for our turn. The enemy moves. So I have it set to quick. That way they're not actually taking any action. It kind of saves us time on the game. So here is Geralt, which is our dad. We're going to learn about terrain effects. So basically, if you move into like a forest, for example, it's going to raise your character's evasion and defense. And Edelgard can actually move into the forest now, so we're going to get her up there.
Good.
Alright. Violet's going to take position up behind her. Also move Claude out that way. And then we're going to keep Dimitri close. And there we go.
Fine opportunity.
Oh, and now we're going to learn about combat arts. So combat arts are really powerful techniques. The only thing with them is they actually cost weapon durability. So this is a newer feature that this game added in. So we're going to have Byleth use her iron sword. And there we go.
Chance to grow.
Send Dimitri here up. Have him attack a foe. Oh! So Dimitri had a 90% chance to hit that enemy, and he missed. He's already looking bad. We'll send Claude in. Does some damage. And here goes it. So, Dimitri, 90% chance to hit the foe, missed. Edelgard, 77% chance, finishes him off. Right, now the game's going to teach us about using items because some of our characters were injured. So I'm going to get Byleth to move over into this forested area here. I'm going to move Edelgard up and have her talk.
You say you're a mercenary, so show me what you can do.
Now, because we're only going to get to keep one of the 3 lords, I'm going to have them actually send in their equipment. So they're just going to give up their items real quick. Except for Dimitri, just because he's close to dying. I'm going to have him hand Byleth his Iron Lance here, and then he's going to use his Volinary. Whoa! I'm going to let Claude keep his bow for just a second, just because there are enemies coming in.
Damn. Why are there mercenaries in the village?
Ally is near, making them easier to hit.
So this is, of course, another feature, linked attacks. As long as you attack an enemy that's in the range of your other characters, they add bonuses to the amount of damage and the amount of, your hit chance for hitting, as well as dropping enemy attacks, which is kind of nice. It also builds up support. Support is a feature in Fire Emblem where characters who work together kind of build up affection rate with each other, and that allows them to have support conversations. Support conversations and support levels basically give characters bonuses when they're fighting, so when 2 characters are next to each other, they get bonuses to their hit rate, or to their damage, or to their chance to avoid the attack, or even their chance to deal a critical. So we're going to have Byleth actually stay right here in the woods. Dimitri and Edelgard are going to get out of dodge, and Claude here is going to go ahead and give Byleth his bow, and put his Volinary in the convoy there. And yeah, we're going to have Byleth just chill where she is. Oh, so Costas just attacked us. He completely missed. So Byleth here got a really good level up. You usually get like 3 stats on a level up. If you get 2 or less, it kind of sucks. So all of the characters have set, sort of not really set growth rates, but they have a sort of percentage. Those percentages are actually changed by what class they're in. And then they have their inherent abilities. But we're going to have Byleth here real quick. Finish off Costas, I hope. Yep. And look at that. Wow. So far, she's turning out to be a really, really good unit. We're probably going to have Byleth go for a physical class as opposed to a magical one. And here we have another cinematic. And we died. Game over.
Honestly, what are you accomplishing with that little stunt? It's like you're trying to get me killed.
Oh, another hilarious thing that I learned while playing this game. a large chunk of the voice cast for NPCs are the voices of the original dub of Digimon. Sothis is actually Kari from the original Digimon, and most of the other voice actors who played the DigiDestined are around campus. So you'll just be walking through and you'll hear a voice, and it's one of the characters from the original Digimon, which is just great. So we'll ask about her name. So one other thing that is, it's a little more noticeable with male Byleth than it is with female. So Byleth has a hard time conveying emotion. They did kind of make female Byleth's face look a little more expressive than males. But while Byleth is actually fully capable of empathy, they have a hard time kind of showing any emotional development. They tend to be very quiet. Byleth actually shows a lot of telltale traits of an autistic person. And of course, through meeting other characters and having dialogue and going on adventures, Byleth does become a lot more expressive and a lot easier at kind of showing emotion. But a lot of autistic people actually did kind of relate to the character, which I think is really important. Even if Byleth wasn't written to be an autistic person, it's something that kind of relates to a lot of autistic people's lives, which is, I mean, it's just kind of special to me, especially this is a game series that I absolutely love with a passion. And I myself was only recently diagnosed as on the spectrum, but being able to see characters that I can kind of relate to, it's very important to me. And being able to actually have the protagonist of the game be both queer and be able to relate to the autistic life is something that's been very special to me. It feels like I get to play my favorite game and actually be represented, which is an amazing moment. Oh god, now I'm getting too emotional, so we're going to go ahead and continue on at this point.
Did D worth saving after all? Though it is only momentary, time has stopped.
So I should point out, we are not going to be pursuing this relationship in the game. Sothis is kind of an ageless entity. We'll learn more about the story later on. I'm not going to get too far into the plot details at the time if you haven't played the game yet. But Sothis is a romance option for Byleth, and she looks like she's 9, so that's not something that we're going to be pursuing. Exactly what Byleth said. No. So what dialogue option should I go with, guys? Should I say, turn back the hands of time, keep time frozen until I'm safe, or I'll just sit here and wait to die? Oh, nihilistic Byleth. Yes, Byleth, so Fire Emblem is actually only came to the US because of Smash, because Roy and Marth were in the games and were very popular. And now a lot of people are actually very upset because there are multiple Fire Emblem games in Smash. They don't seem to understand that it's also one of Nintendo's biggest titles. It was already doing well in Japan, and it did extremely well in the US. So this time skill is actually something that we're going to get to use, and since we're playing on classic mode, there's a chance that we are. Basically, whenever you make a really bad action or one of your character dies, while you have a limited amount of them, you're actually able to turn back time during a battle, which is a really useful feature, especially if you are playing on classic mode, because if you have a character that you don't want to lose, rewind, and they're back. It also works really well if you lose a condition goal, because you can set back however far you want into the battle and try again without having to actually reset the game.
Hey, over here!
Did you just...
So I feel like during the cinematics, the volume is mostly fine, at least on my end, and then as soon as we get to the actual gameplay, all of a sudden it starts getting clippy again. So anyways, here's Alois. He's great. No matter what storyline we're playing, we're not going to be able to get him until nearly the end of the first half of the game. Sothis does not currently have an explanation as to why she can turn back time. Sothis has no memory of who she is. But yeah, so she has time control powers. There's going to be some plot relevance to it. It's more of a gameplay mechanic than it is an actual plot point, though. It'll come up a few more times, but it's really not ultimately crucial to the storyline, which is kind of weird. Anyways, here we go. We've completed the prologue, so we're going to save here. And notice that the date is 4/20, which is actually the day that the very first Fire Emblem game was released. It was going to be the release for this one, but it was pushed back. She didn't remember her own name until we were already in the fight, though. Oh, Alois. People are still mad. Alois actually was one of the characters revealed to have an S-rank support with both male and female Byleth. So people thought, oh, Alois might be a love interest for male Byleth, and they put like this bearish dad-looking dude. And it turns out, no, his ending is strictly platonic. Why this became a serious issue? Platonic endings aren't actually anything new to Fire Emblem, and this one actually has a lot of platonic endings for both male-male, female-female, and male-female, which I think is important. I think it is important in media that we represent platonic relationships a lot more. Oh, so once again, dialogue option. I'm going to go with this one, because Alois finds it hilarious, and it's good to build support with him. I'm a bandit. But yeah, people were kind of upset just because there had already been 5 potential same-sex love interests for female characters shown. There were only 3 male characters that could go to S-rank with a male Byleth, and of those, only one of them was a love interest. It felt a little unfair. It felt kind of like they were marketing it in a way that it was still going to be comfortable for straight men who might not be comfortable with same-sex relationships. So, of course, with DLC, they added in 2 more male characters that can have romantic relationships with a male character. There are also implied characters who can wind up in queer endings who are otherwise presented as straight throughout the game. It's a little iffy, but there's definitely moments that, people who are on the LGBTQ spectrum can't relate to. So here we're meeting our 3 lords. This is going to be the first chance that we have to kind of build up a relationship with a specific lord. For this playthrough, we are going to either go with Edelgard or Dimitri.
How curious. I'd wager the explanation for...
You are coming with us to the monastery, right? Of course.
So one thing that people have pointed out is funny about this scene, all 3 of these characters are the actual lords for the game, and Byleth is just sort of a,
We were doing some training exercises when those
Byleth is kind of an author, it's a game character stand-in. Byleth is still a main character, but they're kind of like, oh, the player, but put into the game. These 3 are the actual lords, and what's funny is, in this scene, they are trying to recruit you, which is how Fire Emblem games work. Yes, so Fire Emblem has actually incorporated dating sim elements into the game since the 4th title. This is the first game in a long time. Awakening and Fates, which are the previous... not necessarily the previous 2 titles, there was also another game that was a remake, Echo Shadows of Valencia. And if you're looking to play a really fun game, I definitely recommend Echoes. But yeah, Fire Emblem has incorporated dating sim elements since at least 1994. The first title to actually incorporate those was Genealogy of the Holy War. The focus of the game in the first half is actually getting your characters paired off, because the characters in the second half of the game are the children of your characters from the first half. Later games don't necessarily put the romance element into it, but supports still matter. So building interpersonal relationships between your characters gives them a whole bunch of bonuses. And then Awakening and Fates both brought back the importance on actually having your characters become romantic. So Awakening and Fates both feature your children actually joining the battle at some point. Awakening has a whole time travel element story going on to it, and Fates just has a very poorly done thing where your characters can, of course, marry, have kids. They put those kids in a place called the Outrealm, where the kids grow up at a rapid age, and then you bring them back into the war. Some of the kids actually wind up being older than their parents. It is only mildly addressed at the best in the game, and it's very depressing. Fates is just a really bad game. It is. So yeah, if you're looking to play a Fire Emblem title, I would definitely either recommend the GBA games if you can get a hold of them. The original Fire Emblem, which is a little challenging. Alternatively, Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones, which was my first title. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot shorter. It has a lot of replay value. So here we're going to decide which kingdom we like the best. I'm going to say just because Edelgard did the best in the fight. Yes, you can marry Lucina. Yes, Lucina is a marriage option in the game. The only thing awkward about marrying Lucina is she is your best friend's daughter. But she's your best friend's daughter from the future, and she is an adult. Yes, so the main character in Fire Emblem Awakening is able to marry every character except for their own child, including their friends' children. It's not as awkward as it sounds for the simple fact that these kids are technically from an alternate timeline. For now, we might change our mind. So we're getting to know the characters here. Byleth is saying Edelgard seems like a refined young woman, but she seems like she's always analyzing us. Dimitri seems quite sincere, but I sense darkness lurking beneath. And finally, Claude. His easy smile is striking, but that smile doesn't reach his eyes.
Yes.
Claude does not smile with his eyes. He did not go to the Beyoncé school of smiling. And now Sothis wants to take a nap.
Oh, my baby's sleeping.
Alright, so we're saving one more time. So we are actually about to begin Chapter 1. This will be not overly lengthy,
Part 1.
but it will take a little while. We're going to actually get to introduce ourselves to all of the characters, a few of the facilities of the school where we're going to be spending most of the first half of the game are going to start to open up, and we'll get to kind of be I'm trying to find the right word. Introduced to everything there. We're also going to get to meet the students. Yeah, Fire Emblem is a series that I've loved for a very long time. I got my first game when I was, I believe, 11. Sacred Stones was the one I started with. Funnily enough, Sacred Stones is one of the least popular titles in the series, but I absolutely love it. It's a really good kind of gateway game to the series. Alternatively, if you are looking for a fun start into the franchise, I would also recommend Awakening. Awakening is actually a fairly easy title, but it's also, it can get challenging. It's a lot of fun. It also gives you a lot more customization options than some of the other games provide. The characters are very likable. There's also the console games for the GameCube and the Wii, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. Those are also good titles. They're a lot darker than some of the other ones. And alternatively, if you're okay with ROMs and translation patches, or if you're able to obtain a physical copy of it, rip that physical copy to your computer and then add the translation patch. Genealogy of the Holy War is an incredibly difficult but very fun game. I also know that in December, for a limited time only, the original Fire Emblem title is actually going to be released for the first time with an English localization on the Switch. I've already pre-ordered my copy. It's only like $5, and I had some Switch coins, so I got it for about $4. It's going to be available for sale, I think, from December until February, and then after that, they're removing it from Switch. So if you buy the game then, you have it forever. If you don't buy it in time, it's gone. Which is a weird thing that Switch has been doing lately with old Nintendo games. So the original Fire Emblem is kind of iffy on the graphics, and there's not a lot of storyline just because they were making this game in 1990 for, I believe, the classic Nintendo Entertainment System, and they had a lot of limitations on what they could do with it. So here we are being introduced to the monastery for the first time. This is where we are going to spend the majority of the game. These are some of the professors. So this is Hahnemann, Manuela, who we will get to know very well. She is a priestess, and this is how she dresses. One thing that I've also found very entertaining about this particular game, most of the queer characters in the game and a lot of the very romantically progressive characters happen to also be the religious ones. Apparently in Fire Emblem, if you're religious, you're also gay. And here is Rhea. Oh, Rhea. She looks really familiar. Byleth's face looks so off here. Her eyes look like they're getting ready to roll off of her face. And yeah, I really enjoy this game. I feel like it could have done better with the graphics than it actually did. And playing it kind of makes me miss the 2D graphics of older Fire Emblem titles. Echo Shadows of Valencia still has a lot of 3D models, but the majority of the game, you still see like 2D artwork of your characters that was absolutely beautifully, beautifully done. These characters, I believe that they may have done like concept sketches as hand-drawn line art, but almost everything was drawn digitally. Some of the characters look great, like Geralt has a lot of angles, you can see a lot of detail in his face. But then you have characters like Edelgard, and I like Edelgard's design, I do, but like her features are very flat. It looks almost like somebody took an actual egg and just drew eyes and hair onto it. Let's see, we'll say you've been here before.
I've mentioned this to you before, but many years I reported to the Archbishop, Lady Rhea. Majority of folks in Fodlan are devout followers.
So anyways, here's how you can tell that Byleth is a insert character. Byleth doesn't seem to know a lot about the world that they live in. Yes, I've called her Edelgard multiple times just because that's kind of how she looks. And then the worst part is, I genuinely like her as a character, but she's so easy to make fun of. And my first 2 playthroughs of the game did not give me a positive perception of Edelgard. I had to actually play through her storyline before I liked her. So depending on which storyline you play, you get different perspectives, not just on the game as a whole, but on each of the characters. So you have to play through all 4 storylines in order to get the full story. But Edelgard kind of doesn't look good in most of the storylines. In fact, so all 3 of the kingdoms in the game are basically, they're based off of like real world historical places. Oh, so we're going to introduce ourselves to Rhea. Why not? She's really not much of a tsundere, actually. She's actually very, very agreeable. She's very sweet when she wants to be. She's just also very upfront.
You want me to rejoin the Knights of Seros, don't you?
So here we go. So Byleth doesn't really know anything about the church and knows very little about their father's own past. They basically grew up with their dad as a mercenary. It turns out that Geralt was a member of the Knights of Seros before, which are the knights that work for Rhea and the church, before becoming a mercenary and raising your child. And Rhea seems to have some kind of weird interest in Byleth. And I mean weird interest in Byleth. It's awkward.
And I'm afraid your services are requested as well.
I must work here? Should we say as a mercenary or as a servant?
They want you to teach, by the sound of it. You heard those earlier. Happens to be short a professor. Apparently that damn Eloise went and recommended you to Lady.
So, we have no prior training. We didn't attend school.
No.
And now we're going to be a teacher. We are terribly underqualified for this job.
Good luck. And watch out for Lady Heya. She may be up to something.
Oh,
and age are not necessarily correlated, as you well know. I am Hanneman. I wonder if you bear a crest of your own. When next you have a moment to spare, I insist we get the subject further.
I'm Mella. I'm a professor, a physician, a songstress, and available. Of course.
So,
before I can...
fair point, yeah. I know that a few places now, especially with the pandemic going on, are kind of changing their process on how they hire teachers. WV is now allowing people with associate's degrees to work as substitute teachers just because things aren't going so great right now. But yeah, teachers definitely deserve to be better paid than what they actually are. Although this school, of course, actually pays their teachers A, fairly well, and B, gives you home and lodging, which a lot of schools don't.
Closely affiliated with its region of origin. The Empire. Their house leader this year is
So here we're getting a little bit of information on each of the three houses. Like I said, we're either going to choose the Black Eagles or the Blue Lions. So the Black Eagles is sort of an interesting house. The characters are kind of bad with the defense stat. So they hit really hard, but they can't take that many hits. They have a lot more mages than some of the other houses. The Blue Lions, on the other hand, are actually these... They have, like, the roles of characters that you would normally get at the beginning of a Fire Emblem game. Blue Lions is very much built to be, like, a genuine Fire Emblem title. However, that said, they do kind of deconstruct what makes a Fire Emblem game in their story. The Black Eagles kind of plays up. Black Eagles kind of provides a new thing for the Fire Emblem series. It still has, of course, all its familiar beats, but it kind of takes a different direction than the standard Fire Emblem story. Yeah.
I suggest you try spending time with the students.
So, Byleth looks young enough to be a student, and apparently the only people who know we're going to be a teacher are the housemasters. In other words, other kids are going to look at us and just think, oh, are you a new student here? In fact, there's actually a couple students that we're going to have that are older than us.
Appointing a stranger, a child no less, as a professor at our esteemed academy is...
Alright, so one other thing to keep in mind, since we are focusing on the storylines of queer people, not all of our characters are going to wind up in queer relationships, obviously. The vast majority of the characters in the game are presented as straight. But one thing that we are going to be looking at, since we're playing as female Byleth on this playthrough, we'll take a look at all of our possible love interests. So right off the bat, Heya is actually a love interest for female Byleth. It's a little bit of a weird storyline, but keep that in mind as we're choosing which route we're going to take. Edelgard is also actually a love interest for male or female Byleth. Neither Dimitri or Claude are romanceable by male Byleth, which was actually a bit of a point of contention with fans for a while. In fact, there was an entire Reddit page for straight men who were upset that they couldn't romance Claude as a man, which was great. But yeah, so with female Byleth, we have right off the bat, we have Heya and Edelgard as potential romance options. So that will have an impact on what storyline we decide to follow. But we do have other options. I'm going to present all of the options just so that you guys have an idea. We're also going to meet all of our other students, and that's going to help us decide which house we're going to go with. Yeah, yeah. And it's actually, I also just like, I want to point out again that this was heterosexual, straight men, guys who like women were upset that Claude was not a love interest for male Byleth. Oh, and here we're going to actually get to see all of the students doing their thing. So Byleth here is, just reading a text in the library. Her outfit is so impractical. She looks like she shops at Hot Topic. Hi, Greg. So here we'll meet the Golden Deer. We have Claude showing a map of Fodlan to his classmates. Here is Ignatz, Lawrence, Hilda, Raphael, Lysithea and Marianne. Lysithea is the best character in the game, and even though we're not playing Golden Deer, we're going to go out of our way to try and recruit her. Here we have the Black Eagles with Edelgard and Hubert, who is creepy as hell. Ferdinand, Linhart, are two autistic characters. Caspar and Petra. Dorothea, another love interest. And Bernie. Oh, and finally we're meeting the Blue Lions. These are Ash and Annette, Ingrid and Sylvain. So this class is the typical Fire Emblem group. This is Mercedes. This is the last of our love interests. We have Dedu and Felix. And of course, Dimitri. And this is kind of actually giving you an idea of how each of the classes work out too. If you were to attribute them to three types of classes, Fighter, Mage, and Thief, the Blue Lions lean toward Fighter. They're more about, getting up front and hitting people. Yes, there's a lot of fan service in this, which is also awkward just because a lot of the characters are, in fact, 15 to 17 at this point in the game. All right, so we're going to be exploring the monastery. So this is actually the first Fire Emblem game to incorporate full RPG elements, like, a movable map, side quests, stuff like that.
Already aware that you the Officers Academy, correct? To start, please speak with the 3 housekeepers. That is the first task here at the monastery.
So Rhea is giving us our first quest now. We're actually going to get to know the house leaders and through them get to know the other students. We'll also actually have the option to talk to each of the students individually. All right, so we have our first quest. I'm going to step over here, and here are Alois and Sedith having a conversation. Alois is a warrior. We will be able to recruit him a little bit later in the game. He hits like a freight train. He has really bad defense, so when he takes a hit, but he has high HP to offset it. We may not use Alois much this game because there's a good chance that we're going to have our other students already trained into the classes that we want by the time we get them. And then we also have Sedith. We may or may not be able to recruit Sedith this playthrough. It really depends on what storyline we go through. Sedith is a wyvern rider, so he rides on a dragon, which is nice. There are some classes that you definitely want to use more than others. The 2 best classes in the game are the Bow Knight and the Wyvern Lord, so we're going to definitely have characters that we get set up on that path line. This is also different than a lot of Fire Emblem games just because you actually have the option of how your students develop. So the class system is actually really free as opposed to everybody being set to a specific role. That said, certain students do better in certain things than others. So here we are, we're going to talk to Edelgard. This is actually the beginning of our quest.
You've accepted a teaching position here. Pity. I was hoping you would lend your strength to the Empire. I never properly introduced myself, did I?
So I'm going to let you guys get introduced to the Black Eagles house and the Blue Lions house. I will show off the Golden Deer house. If you do purchase 3 houses and decide to play through it, I highly recommend playing the Golden Deer storyline just because the characters are incredibly fun. The storyline is just very nice. It's very different from the traditional Fire Emblem experience. The Golden Deer is it's an incredibly fun, great storyline. But we will be playing through, like I said, Black Eagles or Blue Lions for this. So let's get to know our students. Of course, we have Edelgard here. She'll tell us a little bit about herself. We'll also be able to see her stats and her stat total. Well, and there you go, Arden. Edelgard agrees with you. She just called herself a tsundere. So anyways, once again, we can see her stats. Her base stat total is going to be 57, so that's what all of her stats add up to. Edelgard is already an incredibly good unit. You can also see what she's good at and what she's bad at. I don't think we're able to see... Yep, so I already clicked out of it. She's good with swords, axes, reason, which is the stat that determines your magic, and authority. She's really bad at faith, so Edelgard is not a religious person. She also does not do a good job as a healer. And she has one other thing that she's bad at. Let me check real quick. Bows. So she's not an archer either. A lot of the characters' strengths are actually related to their personalities. Edelgard is a very direct person, so she's not going to use a bow, which attacks indirectly. And she's not a very religious person. She kind of hates the church for reasons that will come up during the storyline. So she's also not good with faith. Here we have Hubert.
He has served me since I was a child. You may think
who is really creepy, and these pants look ridiculous.
Past that, you'll see he's quite astute and reasonable.
So Hubert actually is only a little bit below Edelgard with a total of 54. He has a really high magic stat at 12, a really crappy defense stat at 4, and then all of his other stats are actually really, really balanced. So each of the characters have this defining ability you'll notice in one of the corners there. These are unique skills that each character have. You can also actually gain new skills as the game goes on, as your characters improve their levels as well as their stats. So Hubert here has officer duty. It grants him might +5 with gambits. So anytime Hubert is leading a team into battle, a battalion, he can deal extra damage. He's good with bows, reason, which affects his magic, and authority. He's bad with axes, faith, and flying because Hubert, the scary dude, has a fear of heights. Next, we have Ferdinand. Ferdinand has no weaknesses. He has across-the-board average stats with a grand total of 848. He excels at all 3 of the basic melee weapons, so he's good at swords, lances, and axes, and he's also good at riding, which means he makes a great cavalier. His unique skill is Confidence, which grants him hit and avoid +15 whenever he's at full HP, so as long as he hasn't taken any damage yet, he has a higher chance of hitting his enemies and a higher chance of getting out of the way attacks. Right now, his speed is at 8. I believe that while he has a good base stat in speed, he actually grows his speed very low, so he's not going to stay fast, sadly. But he's usually pretty good at taking a hit. He's kind of built to be a cavalier, but also built to be a tank. Ferdinand is also very popular and also very infamous because he has a line when he's at full HP that he says quite frequently, "I am Ferdinand von Eyre." You will hear it every single battle, sometimes 10 times in a battle. Ferdinand is also actually canonically on the autism spectrum, which is neat. He's the only character that's actually been confirmed to be on the spectrum, although other characters do have traits that come across as that. Case in point, Linhardt here. Linhardt has a lot of features that autistic people have related to, as well as people with ADHD. Linhardt is also the first same-sex male love interest that was introduced in the title.
Tasks that particularly interest him, and nothing else. He's also fond of to speak of. I suppose he would be destined to become an official of the Empire.
So, Linhardt has Catnap. If he doesn't take any action besides wait, he recovers up to 10% of his max HP, because Linhardt is kind of lazy. Like Edelgard said, Linhardt is actually incredibly intelligent, but he has a hard time doing anything that doesn't interest him. When he is interested in something, though, he is dedicated to it to the point that it's scary. Beyond that, he just doesn't have a lot of energy. He sleeps a lot. Linhardt is going to be the first person... Linhardt is the first person outside of Edelgard who has a crest. I'm going to see if we can get that pulled up. No, I don't think we can. Okay. But yeah, Linhardt is good at reason and faith, so he's really good at magic. He's not so good at melee weapons. He has a fear of blood, so Linhardt does not like to be on the front lines.
He's the second son of Count Bergli.
Next we have Caspar.
Why he's always so eager to prove himself. He's overly energetic and rushes headfirst into any battle. To keep a close eye on.
Caspar is what we would call a himbo. He likes to rush right into the front line of battle. He hits very hard. Once again, he doesn't do too well taking hits, And besides fighting, he's not really good for anything. He's not a very bright kid. So he has the ability Born Fighter. Any foes that are adjacent to him actually lose 10 to their avoid, which means he's going to be hitting more often, thankfully. He's really good at axes and brawling. He's bad at bows, reason, and authority. So he's not good at leading a team into battle. He's not good at magic, and he's not really going to get any attacks from a distance unless you get him a throwing weapon. Here we have Bernadetta.
I suppose you could say she's a bit eccentric, but she seems like a gentle soul. I believe she... Make sure she finds her way to class.
So Bernie is another character with a crest. Her crest, I believe, heals HP based on the amount of damage that characters do. I'm not sure. The problem with that is that her unique ability gives her additional attack damage when she's not at full HP. So they're kind of counterintuitive to one another. She's good at bows and lances. She's designed to be an archer. She has across the board actually really good stats, except for her defenses. If Bernie gets hit, she's going to die. End of story. She's really bad at swords, axes, and brawling, all of which are melee weapons, and heavy armor. So you really want Bernie to stay in the background. So here's our next love interest, Dorothea. Dorothea is one of the few characters in the game that's actually openly bisexual. Some of the characters, it doesn't really come up unless you're romancing them. Dorothea hits on pretty much everyone. So she's good at swords and reason. She's bad at faith, riding, and flying. She's one of the only commoners in the Black Eagle house. Before joining the school, she was actually a songstress in an opera company, which is also why she has a defining ability, songstress. Basically, any allies that are next to her gain 10% of their max HP back at the start of each turn. She is good at swords, but she has a terrible strength stat, so you're not going to see her using them a lot. She's also good at reason, which means she's an excellent mage. She's bad at faith. Once again, she doesn't really have a lot of faith in the church. However, Dorothea has what's called a budding talent. You can actually raise her to be good at faith, which is a good idea because she's an excellent healer and it opens up new class opportunities to her. And then, of course, she's not a very good mounted unit. Yeah, they do, and you're going to get to know even more about the characters through their supports. So supports actually provide backstory on the characters, as well as kind of show off their personalities. They don't only support just Byleth, they support with each other. And here is Petra. So if we don't decide to romance Dorothea, Petra will be romancing Dorothea. Petra is more or less presented as straight in the game. However, her ending with Dorothea doesn't even just imply it. It outright states that they are in love, and they wind up ruling Petra's kingdom together. Petra is an amazing unit. She's good at swords, axes, bows, flying. She's only bad at reason and faith. She can really fill any melee role that you need her to. She has really good speed. Her Hunter's Boon stat, anytime a foe is at less than 50% HP, she has a plus 20% to her critical hits, meaning she's going to get a lot of criticals. She's built to go into a flying class like a dragon. Petrified. So Petra does have an issue where because she's a foreigner, she doesn't understand language perfectly, and you will notice her slowing down when she speaks. Alternatively, she will just get mixed up on what words she wants to use, kind of like what I'm doing right now. So that is the Black Eagle's house. We're also going to meet the most popular and important character in the game, the Gatekeeper.
You must be the new professor. To stand here at this glorious entrance and leisurely watch over the comings and goings of everyone. Make folks smile. To vigilantly guard this entrance with my very life. No levity whatsoever. As of now...
So every month, the Gatekeeper will have new dialogue. When you go up and talk to him, he'll say, "Nothing to report, Professor," and then immediately report something that's going on in the game to you. He does it with a lot of he's very fun as a character. The voice actor just did an amazing job with him. And somebody actually hacked the game to add him as a playable character. He does have stats, but he's not normally recruitable. You'll never see him in Battlefield. It turns out that he has a charm stat of 99, which is virtually impossible to have. Basically, he is the most charismatic person in the game. So here we're going to see the Officers Academy. This is where the classrooms are. We will regularly find characters here. We'll get to see each of the classrooms. Here's the Black Eagles. Oh, I guess we're only seeing Black Eagles. You'll also notice a lot of cats and dogs running around the academy. We can't interact with them yet. When the game first came out, people were actually very upset that you couldn't talk to the cats. There were people who literally threw away their cartridges and gave the game bad reviews just because you couldn't talk to the cats and dogs. They later incorporated as DLC, and we'll be able to see that later in the game. You can actually feed the dogs and cats. You can give them meat, fish, fruit, whatever you find. And occasionally they will actually give you items as a reward. So we're not going to go very in-depth on the Golden Deer just because I don't want to take too long and too much time out of everybody's day. But here's Claude. He's going to introduce us to his class. There are a few kids from this class that we're going to try to recruit just because they're good to have.
Don't worry too much about all that madness. You don't know which class you're teaching yet, do you? Have you met
And he's right.
Your house yet? Care to know more about anyone?
So Claude himself, of course, he actually has a really good stat set. He has a base total of 57, just like Edelgard. He's good at swords, bows, authority, and flying, which is an interesting mix. Claude actually develops into a dragon riding unit who just happens to use bows. He's bad at lances and faith, but you can kind of mitigate the lances, and you don't really need him using faith. He's not a magic unit. Here we have Lawrence. We may not recruit Lawrence, but we are going to take up any side quest that Lawrence presents us because he gives us one of the best items in the game.
Deep down, he's really devoted and honest. Though I wouldn't mind never again.
And Lawrence is the kind of character that you either love him or hate him. There's no middle ground with Lawrence. People don't just like him. They either find Lawrence very entertaining or they find him very, very annoying. So he's good with lances, reason, and riding. He's pretty much just like a magical cavalier. Here we have Raphael. We probably won't recruit Raph, even though I love him to death. Raph is pretty much just Caspar with muscles so big that his shirt doesn't fit. And you'll notice that most of the characters wear belts with their uniforms. Raph is wearing suspenders because there's no belt big enough for him. He's good with axes, brawling, and armor. He's bad with bows, reason, and riding. Then we have Ignatz. Ignatz is like Bernie, another archer. He and Raph are actually long-term best friends. They've been best friends since they were kids. Ignatz is at the school because his parents want him to be a knight. He doesn't want to be one. Lysithea is one character that we are very definitely recruiting no matter what storyline we take. Lysithea is the most used character in the game. Yes. Raph upsets me because he only has 2 endings that are actually romantic in nature, both of which are with female characters. All of his other endings are strictly platonic. He's a total sweetheart, and he just doesn't have romantic interests. His other endings are also platonic with male characters. I'm kind of upset that Raph isn't a love interest for male Byleth. But yeah, Lysithea here is a character that we're definitely getting. She is a glass cannon, but she can often hit enemies from 3 spaces away, and she deals the most damage in the game. She's the strongest mage you can get. Here we have Marianne. Marianne is depressed. That's kind of her thing. She actually does have a very great storyline, especially if you take the time to actually build up your support chain with her. We may not do that this playthrough just because it's hard to kind of recruit characters from out of your house. But she has good strengths across the board. She's good with swords. She's good with faith, which is good just because she is a natural healer. And then riding and flight. She's bad at brawling and heavy armor. Here we have Hilda. Hilda is also an amazing character. She is like Edelgard and Caspar. She's one of your axe-using units. She also has a neat skill where anytime she's near a male ally, they deal 3 extra damage during combat, so she's really good at influencing men. And then finally we have Leonie. Leonie has a weird connection to her dad. She's also super obsessed with our dad. She also has a skill that actually acts in reaction to male characters, where if she's next to them, she deals 2 extra damage and takes 2 less. She has no weaknesses, which is nice. And she's actually built specifically for the Bow Knight class, which is one of the best classes in the game. So since we're here, let's go ahead and meet all the kids in the Golden Deer house. This is going to be Lawrence.
For a cup of tea sometime. My name is Lawrence Hellman Gloucester.
You will want to remember it.
Hellman, like the mayonnaise. Here we have Leonie and Raph.
Are you someone? Yes. If that
It's Captain Gerald's kid.
So yeah, Raph
I'm Leonie Pinelli.
pretty much
Captain Gerald, greatest apprentice.
only thinks about food, which, considering how big he is, makes sense. And he's already forgot who we are. Well, if it's anything, teen, Leonie doesn't like her own dad. She likes our dad.
You're the skilled mercenary who saved Claude, are you?
So here are Ignatz and Lysithea.
My parents are Alliance merchants.
And I am like.
So Ignatz is a really sweet character. I like him a lot. He's one of the worst units in the game, though, which is hilarious to see him right next to Lysithea, who is so powerful she scares the villains in the game. And here we have Hilda and Marianne.
Everyone's been talking about you. I'm Hilda Valentine Goneril.
So each of the houses also have what is called a retainer for the Lord. They're basically the one character that's most devoted to them. So that character is somebody that's only recruitable on that household. The Black Eagles have Hubert for Edelgard. The Blue Lions have Dudu for Dimitri. And the Golden Deer have Hilda for Claude. Hilda's a little different than the other two, though, in that depending on which storyline you're playing, she's still actually recruitable to your party. So depending on where we go, we may have Hilda join us at a later point. Since we're here, we're going to go ahead and meet the Blue Lions now. This is Sylvain. He's a little bit flirty.
Must be my lucky day today, being approached by such a beauty. I'm Sylvain Jose.
We'll actually have a really easy time recruiting Sylvain if we don't choose the Blue Lions, because if you're playing as a female Byleth, he will automatically join your party. All you have to do is go up and talk to him and say, hey, do you want to join my class? And Sylvain will be like, yes. Over here we have Felix and Ingrid. These are two of the best units in the game. So it's a matter of, once again, if we don't choose this house, we're going out of our way to recruit them. Felix, on the bright side, is actually one of the easiest characters in the game to recruit no matter what storyline you're playing. You only need a good sword stat and good speed. So each of the characters have sort of skills they want you to be good at in order to recruit. Felix just happens to pick two stats that Byleth is automatically good at. Here we have Mercedes and Annette. So Mercedes is a student here. She is 22 years old, when most of the characters are 15 to 17. Mercedes is once again our priest, so she's a faith-based character. She's also a really good mage in general. She's one of the best characters in the game. Mercedes is also the last of our love interests. And then, of course, we have Annette next here, who's also a great unit. And here we have Dudu and Ash.
This here is Dudu. He serves Prince Dimitri.
Ash is also one of the most popular characters in the game. He's just a really, really friendly, sweet person. Ash is also the best of the three archers, so there is a good chance that, once again, if we don't choose this house, we're going to go out of our way to get him. So Dimitri is here. We're going to chat with him, but we're going to go check out the Black Lions first. Or sorry, the Black Eagles. Now I'm thinking of my dog. So here are Ferdinand and Bernie.
Bernadetta, this is no stranger. Our house leader owes this person a great debt. Is legitimate son of the Iyer family, the Empire's foremost.
I love that he has to emphasize that he's the legitimate son, implying that his father probably has a lot of illegitimate children. Here is Dorothea.
Wow, you don't have a familiar face. What brings you here? I was a member of an opera company in the Empire. You should hear me sing sometime.
So Dorothea is hitting on us. Caspar and Linhardt, who are best friends, they are actually based off the characters of Ike and Soren, although their personalities are very off. But Ike and Soren, who are from Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, and Radiant Dawn.
So, are you a student here too? Maybe we'll be in the same class.
Oh, Caspar, you poor, sweet, precious child. And here are Hubert and Petra.
I heard you came to the aid of her.
He looks like an anemic vampire.
She has come all the way from Brigid to study in the Empire. Princess. In Foden terms, she would be called heir to the throne.
I am called...
No,
I am pleased to have met you.
And Petra is the last of the characters that, regardless of which storyline we take, we are going to go out of her way to recruit her. She's one of the best characters in the game, hands down. Yeah, not a problem. Right, and then this is the last of our house leaders, Dimitri. He's going to let us get to know his class a little bit better.
Of course, at the academy, I am simply a student. And that you are to become a... I still have much to learn. I'm confident I could benefit greatly from your guidance.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Different houses here. Did any of the Blue Lions catch your...
So, of course, we're going to get to see Dimitri himself. Once again, he's good at swords, lances, and authority. He's the generic Fire Emblem Lord. He actually has a lower base stat total than the other two lords at 55. Dimitri has the best strength growth in the game, so he hits harder than literally anybody else. I believe his strength stat actually caps at 80, which is insanely high. And, of course, both his crest... Well, his crest gives him the opportunity to deal even extra damage. So he's not good at Axes or Reason, which makes him the exact opposite of Edelgard. Here we have Dedue. Dedue has a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses. He's not good with mounted units, and he's not good with faith. That's actually because he doesn't practice the same religion. He's from a foreign land. So he has Staunch Shield. If he takes no action except for weight, he gets +4 defense. Right now, his strength is his best stat, but he has a very high defense build. Next, we have Felix. Felix is another character that a lot of people that are on the autism spectrum relate to. He has a lot of traits that are very noticeable of those people. He has... So Felix is basically built around what's called a Myrmidon. He's a swordsman. He's very fast. He hits hard. He doesn't take hits, but he usually does a good job at dodging. His Lone Wolf skill, basically, if he doesn't have a battalion, he deals 5 extra damage. It's really good for the early game, although as the game progresses, you're going to want to have battalions for a lot of reasons. Then we have Ash. Ash has Lockpick. This is really useful just because there's a lot of treasure chests in the game. Normally, you need a thief to open them. Ash can be in any class and have Lockpick. He's good at axes and bows, which is a really weird mix. He can either hit up close with those, or he can be at a range. Once again, he's built to be an archer, and he has better stats than the other two archers do. The only thing he's really bad at is Reason. Ash is a very natural candidate for the Bow Knight class, which is the best class in the game. Here we have Sylvain. He's good at lances, axes, and riding, and bad at bows. His skill, Philanderer, is going to let him deal extra damage and take extra damage as long as he's near a female unit, so he's kind of like Hilda. He's naturally built for the Cavalier class. Mercedes. So Mercedes has a great skill. She is a healer. Whenever she heals somebody, she also gets healed. She's good at Reason and Faith, which makes her really good at the magic. She's not good at anything melee-based, so she's definitely a back row unit, but she gets a lot of spells that allow her to heal from a distance and attack from a distance. She actually has as high of a base stat total as all of the lords, which makes her incredibly powerful. Her spell list could use some work. There's characters that get better spells, but next to Lysithea, she's the best mage in the game, and she is probably the de facto best healer. Then we have Annette. Annette's going to be our offensive mage. She's bad at bows and heavy armor. She's good at axes, which is weird for a mage. There is a reason for that that we'll get into later. She's also good at Reason, so she's literally this class's mage. And then she's good at Authority, which isn't actually normal for characters that aren't lords. Her skill Perseverance basically lets her use Rally. Rally is a skill that all of the characters can learn. It allows you to boost other people's stats. Her Rally actually allows her to get +4 strength to an ally, so she's really good for buffing up your melee units. She also has a really high base stat total. And then finally we have Ingrid. Ingrid has really good strengths. She has no weakness. If she has a battalion equipped, she deals might +3 and hit +5 whenever she's using a gambit. She has across-the-board balanced stats. She has a great base total. She seems like a really good unit. There's not really any problems with Ingrid. She's just also not very interesting, but she is a great character to have.
I appreciate your
So we completed our class quest. We met all of the students. That took a lot longer than I expected, and I do apologize for that. So we're going to go back and visit Heya now, and this is going to be the most important moment in the game.
well-intentioned souls.
I suppose it is time for you to take charge of... Note that I am personally against entrusting someone as lacking in trackable history as yourself with such a task.
There we go. Sedith is calling out Heya for hiring a teacher without even conducting a background check. Sedith is like, girl, what are you doing?
Since you are new here, we have decided to allow you first pick. Manuela.
Alright, folks, so at this point, we are locked in as to which story we want. Whoa! So, are we starting with Charmander or Squirtle? What is the choice here? We're leaving Bulbasaur or Pikachu be. We're going to pick either Black Eagles or Blue Lions. Which story do you guys want to see more? Right? I'm going to wait for one more response, and then we'll decide whether we're going for Black Eagles or Blue Lions. So far, it looks like Blue Lions is leading the charge. Alright, we're going the Blue Lions storyline. This is actually the one I was thinking of doing for this anyways, just because the Blue Lions is the most traditional Fire Emblem storyline. I also like this one just because, while the option isn't there for Byleth, there is actually a same-sex romance that can be pursued through two of your characters, one of whom happens to be on the autism spectrum and also happens to be my favorite character in the game. Since we are playing as female Byleth, we're pretty much going to be locked in with a romance with Mercedes this playthrough, unless we recruit Dorothea to our party.
I'm in the middle.
And here we are being introduced to Flame, who is Sedith's little sister.
Who is this?
And Flame is...
Oh my! A new addition to the Officers Academy.
Flame is extra.
Pleased to meet you, Professor.
Just to put it plain and simple, she's very extra.
I'm so happy to meet you.
But she's a great character to have in your party.
At hand, there is something you should be aware of. In a few time, there will be a battle between the three houses, intended to gauge the current progress of the students. We will be using this battle as a in your place as well. Please do not disappoint the Archbishop. That is all.
So there we go, our first week of teaching, and we are going to have to fight the other students.
Does this mean our new professor is... No. I really can't believe it. But I was thinking you so we were companions. Oh, I am so sorry, Professor. You just look the same age as the rest of us, and... Oh, and I'm sorry to say that to you. I just don't know about all of this.
Well, either. After all, we wish to show you due respect.
Sure, but if the professor says it's okay. We're taking this way to our future king, so we may
I believe that
in the kingdom, so it only goes
I believe that Sylvain is also a little older than the average student as well. I think he's about 19 or 20 at this point in the game. Dimitri may be 18, and Dudu is a little bit older. I do find it funny that Mercedes is only 22, but also she is 22 and she's a student at the Officers Academy. And then on top of that, she sounds like
and marriage.
a grandmother?
Control yourself, Sylvain. I have more important to the training ground later. There, you will show me what you're capable of.
You aren't wasting any time, are you, Felix?
Wow, Felix wants to fight us himself.
Pardon me, but I would also future.
Ash, I won't have you speak of merely watching. You should join us as well.
Say the word and I'll patch you straight away.
Your Highness, do take care not to go overboard.
You were much to do.
Yes, that sounds like a regular... Fighting the students seems like something that happens at pretty much any high school. The big difference here is that we are a teacher and we are going to be fighting the students.
I suppose you'll stay behind while the rest of us are at the training ground?
Ingrid, my dearest friend.
What do you think? As you see, Lion House is a lively bunch, but you'll find it's our fair share of trouble. But I'm very much looking forward to the year ahead.
All right, so we're getting a loading screen. All the loading screens are basically just going to show us little tutorials that we're going to see throughout the game anyways. So like this one, for example, is showing us the battle menu and telling us that we can actually use the bookmark. That's a feature that lets you save during the fight. I believe that if you bookmark, it's just like older games where it's kind of like suspending the game. So it does save the file, but then it stops you. So like you're not able to play. Once you start playing again, that save file disappears. All right, so we get 1,000 gold. So the gold that we receive from the church is actually going to be based around our professor level. So Byleth actually has a level that grows in-game that determines how good of a professor you are, and also provides you a whole bunch of benefits when it comes to training your student, training Byleth, and various different things that you can do around campus.
You don't know. I need to tell you everything, absolutely everything about them. Is your calendar clear? This will take a while.
Oh, Hanuman.
No one can dive deeply into said topic. One must first understand what crests are.
So crests are, of course, very important to this particular storyline. Actually, yeah, crest comes from the character's bloodlines, although there are sort of weird exceptions to that rule. Those will show up a little later in the story as to why there are exceptions to it. There's also one crest for every single card in the major arcana of the tarot deck. And you'll find that if you actually look into the character backstories and everything, the personalities, the characters actually relate to the tarot cards. So Hanuman believes that we have a crest. We do, but we don't know what the crest is.
As I said, crests are someone carries a crest does not necessarily mean their descendants will inherit it as well. Only a scarce.
So that is also something that's going to come up into the storyline very soon. So only certain people get crests. The noble families all just happen to have crests, and noble families will regularly try to produce an heir that has a crest, which can cause issues for any child they have who doesn't. So we're going to tell Hanuman that he can look into getting us a crest.
And hold out your arm over this device here. What? Never seen before. Is it possible an as yet undiscovered crest has been detected? Think. There are crests out there that even I am unaware of. How thrilling!
So the nice thing about playing the Blue Lion's house, several of the teachers and the knights that work for the monastery are recruitable no matter what storyline you're playing through. The Blue Lion's house will allow us to recruit any of them. So if there's any gaps in our team or any characters that just aren't doing that well for us for some reason, we can replace them with the teachers. The teachers are some of the only characters in the game that are actually very set on what stats that they're good at and what skills that they're good at. But that means that they also fill out a niche role very easily. They just kind of help fill out our roster a bit. All right, so we're done with that conversation.
The Officers Academy receive a schedule for the. It notes the days on which events and missions will take place. So that you may thoughtfully plan what you intend to do each month. When?
So of course here, like Ray is saying, we have a calendar that kind of shows our schedule. And you can actually check the schedule to see what happens. So right here was the quest that we already played. A few days ago was Hubert's birthday. At the beginning of the month, it was the Adrestian Empire founding day. There's also an event today. It's our first day off. So that's a holiday, I guess. And then on the 30th, we have the house rivalry battle. That will also be Ferdinand's birthday. So on birthdays, you actually have the option to, eventually you'll be able to invite people to tea, which helps you build your relationship. You can also buy characters flowers. On your day off, you have a few options. Right now, the only one we have is Explore, so we're going to do that. This is just going to let us check out the monastery. So we can go here. We actually have some free supplies. So right now, the game has about 4 different DLCs released. So right here, we get a few items because I have all of the DLC. And then here, there's a bonus chapter called Cindered Shadows. We get the Chalice of Beginnings, which is a useful item to have once you've completed that. And then you also get some free Renown. Renown can be used later in the game. Then we also have the option to change our unit appearance. So we can put Byleth in a different outfit, with or without cloak. Since we're at the Offers Academy, I think I'm actually going to put her in that. We also have our house loungewear. Servant's attire, so we can dress our characters up as butlers or maids. Summer wear, evening wear. We can dress Byleth up like Sothis. And then we also have the dancer ensemble, which is Byleth just dressed as a dancer. So I think for now we're going to go with the Academy. We're going to put glasses on, why not? And in battle we'll have her do her monastery design. And of course we're actually able to change the other characters' attire as well. But for the time being, we're just going to leave our students in their Academy attire. Alright, so we're going to be heading out.
These are the students.
So every month, there is a whole bunch of different things that you can do around the monastery. You can chat with characters in order to build your supports. You can pick up side quests that are laying around. As the game progresses, we're going to be able to see more features that we'll be able to take. We're not going to get in-depth into all of them right now, just because they will come up later in the game.
It would be best for you to avoid improper conduct. I expect you to set a good example for the students.
Yeah, I'll think about it. So over here, Edelgard and Hubert.
To face the Black Eagles in battle. Enjoy the thrill of anticipation while it lasts. Instead.
Wow, rude.
Continue to distracting me. I will have no choice but to get.
I don't think he's joking.
Wow, Buritsa sure seems strong. I assigned to our class. After that teacher ran away during our outdoor training, I figured Yuritsa was a natural replacement.
Oh, right. So, the very first fight that we had, the actual teacher for the 3 houses was with them and ran away before the fight started, which is how we wound up with his job.
What?
So over here's Yuritsa. He is actually playable, but only on the Black Eagle storyline, so we won't be recruiting him this time. He's actually a very interesting character. He's mildly disturbing, and we'll see part of that later. We won't get the full thing.
Cause for doubt, but if you mistreat him in any way, I will take action.
So Dudu is going to give us a quest.
I hear there will be a mock battle soon. We must not neglect our training. I each of your students, that you may provide effects. Regardless of the results, this battle will be. What is the point of competition if the aim isn't to win? As this is your first time at the monastery, please
So Dimitri is going to give us a little bit of the tutorial. He's going to teach us about facilities. We're going to just kind of rush through that dialogue because there's not a lot for him to actually tell you. Bulletin boards also take place around the game. They can show you what quests are available. The thing is, you can also just check which quests are available on your map, which makes the bulletin board kind of pointless. It's really just a matter of, do you want to use the bulletin board or not? Oh. Here are Claude and Hilda. I'm honestly not going to bother to talk with them at this time just because we can't recruit them. So even though we were already at the dormitory, it's going to wait until we get to the bottom floor to actually show us what it looks like. And it looks like the dormitory is actually running the game a little slow. So here, of course, is Leonie.
I can beat anyone, Professor. Even you, if I have to. It may have been only for a short time, but I learned from the absolute best.
She's confident. Oh, and here's Bernie. Bernie is great.
Really have to. Hope you're okay with that, Professor.
She's so flighty.
Hey, Professor. If you got spare time, wanna join me for a trip into town? There's an inn that serves the most amazing food.
And here's Sylvain hitting on his teacher.
I've got a small favor to ask.
He's going to give us another quest. I'm going to head up this way really quickly. And this will introduce us to the dining hall. So we do have the option to complete Sylvain's quest now. The problem with completing Sylvain's quest right now is that it runs us out of time on the game. So we're going to go and finish a few other quests first.
I can't right now, but
Let's tell Felix we want to spar with him. That's going to boost our relationship. Chat with Raph real quick.
I really need to eat. I the next meal. Why can't the dining hall stay open all the time?
Alright, and we'll chat with Flane here. Flane's going to give us the last of our quests.
I am not a student here myself. Should the opportunity arise, I would love to be... The monastery is kind enough to provide a sanctuary for my brother. He's the only family I have.
So we're going to do, this is actually the best way to build your professor level. We're going to go fishing. That's right, if you want to be a good teacher, you have to fish. So basically with fishing, you just select your bait. Fish shows up. And then you're just timing it so that you can hit these purple the purple spot right there. The more excellence you get, the faster you catch the fish. It also has the added benefit of A, you get better points. B, if you're not scoring the excellence, you take more energy and more strain on your line, and you can actually lose the fish.
The Great Tree Moon is the best time of the year. I could just forget about my assignment.
I haven't played any Sonic games in so long, but I love Big. Oh, here's Cyril. He's not a student, he just works here.
Things to do. Like that. Why don't you look at the flowers? They're pretty.
The greenhouse here is really incredible. There are so many rare flowers I'd never seen back home. My father is the real expert. He taught me everything I know about her.
So Ash is adopted. He loves flowers and plants.
Sometime, if the mood strikes you, catch your eye.
And I assure you, as we play this game further, everyone is going to like Ash. He's going to be the very best, like no one ever was. So here we're going to learn about gardening. Gardening is useful just because you get various inventory from it. You can get flowers, which you can use as gifts in order to build your support with characters, which both makes them easier to recruit and also provides those support bonuses. You can also get food, which allows you to share meals or get stat boosts. Food can also be used to gift to animals in order to get materials to improve your weapons. And then there's also sort of stat boosting items that you can get from gardening. Right, so we're going to report to Flame to let her know that we caught her fish. And the last thing that we're going to do before we fight this month, we're going to go over and talk to the kitchen lady here, and we're going to build our supports with Mercedes and Annette.
So good. Oh, but not as good as your homemade sweets, Mercy.
You're too kind. Maybe.
Why does she sound like a grandma? Oh, we improved our professor level. Nice. So we now have more activity points and we'll receive better funds. So because we went fishing and ate food with our students, the school is going to pay us better.
I knew I could count on you.
So we're going to give Ferdinand some flowers just to see if we can recruit him later. And here we go. First mission. So I think we're going to finish. Chapter 1. So we're going to get through this fight. There's a little bit more dialogue after that, and that's going to be it for the night since we're almost hitting 2 hours at this point. I didn't realize it was going to take this long to get through the game. So yeah, we're going to get through Chapter 1 here, and then we'll take a break for the night. I will be streaming again tomorrow, probably around 6 p.m. again. I'm going to attempt to stream, like I said, on a regular basis. There will be a few exceptions. I'm not going to be streaming on holidays. There are a couple nights that I probably will stream 2 chapters per night, just because some of the chapters are actually shorter. So when we get to Chapter 6 of the game, I believe, we'll do Chapter 6 and 7. And then when we get to Chapter 13, we'll probably play Chapter 13 and 14. And then when we get to the end of the game, which for this one should be Chapters 21 and 22, we'll be playing both of them as well.
The best you can hope for is to learn a thing or two.
So once again, thank you all for being here tonight. It's very lovely to have you. We're not done with the stream just yet, so I'm not saying goodbye just yet, but I am pointing out we are probably going to finish this up, and then we'll be done for the night. I'll be back tomorrow. If you're not back tomorrow, that's totally cool. I get it. People are busy. People have lives. I will be putting all of these up on YouTube, each video one at a time. I do plan on doing a little work tomorrow just to see if I can get the video quality to work better than what it is right now. This is my first time streaming, but we're going to get everything working out. So I'm going to say, don't intend to lose. So along with the students that we're going to be fighting from the other 2 houses, because this is a 3-way battle, we're also going to be fighting the other professors. So this is going to be teachers beating up teachers, which is great.
Ah, how time flies. In that case, see you later.
I look forward to assessing your abilities. I hope you don't disappoint.
Yeah, I'm glad I chose to do it on a Friday, too. I was going to do it in the middle of the week, but I didn't have all of my equipment set up. So here we're learning about magic. Magic has, basically, you get to use a certain number of spells per chapter, or at least per battle. So magic usually is, out of range. Your characters have to have skills in reason or faith. And then, of course, this is also going to show us the battle preparation menu, which we have right here. We don't have access to the marketplace yet. We can see which characters can support, and some of these are actually going to be locked in already. So Byleth and Mercedes, we're going to have a focus on them. We're going to try to get their support to S rank. Dimitri's main support this playthrough right now is either going to be Annette or Ingrid. I haven't decided, and then one of them is going to have a support outside of the house. Sylvain and Felix are going to be supporting each other, and then Dudu and Ash. So really, everyone in this house is probably going to build up supports with each other, but we're going to have characters that prioritize their relationships. So this one is kind of auto-set who we're going to have. We have Byleth, Dimitri, and Dudu for melee. Then we have Ash here and Mercedes for healing. So we're kind of not getting to use these other 4 characters yet. We will as the game progresses. And in all honesty, I think I actually am going to stick with who's already in the house. We don't have access to battalions anymore. We can't reclass anybody. Our combat arts are stet. We're going to go to items. Byleth doesn't need all of this gear. I'm going to actually let her keep the bow, and then she'll have a Volinary. Oh. Dimitri's going to get an iron sword, an iron lance. I forgot that we stole his equipment earlier. And I'm also going to give him the Chalice Beginnings. This is a neat little item to have. It nullifies extra effectiveness, so if your character is a flyer, a cavalry, or an armor unit, there are weapons that deal extra damage to them. They won't take those weaknesses. They also get a nice little bonus in that they can counterattack from any range. So if somebody hits them, they can hit back, guaranteed, no matter where they're being attacked from. We have Dudu here. He's starting out with an axe. I think, since we don't have any gauntlets, since Ingrid's not in the fight, we're going to take her lance. And then Ash is actually also going to get a lance because we are going to train Ash to be a bow knight. So he needs skills in riding bows and lances. Everybody already has a Volinary. Mercedes is good to go. She's a magic user. All right.
For the battle to begin. Our victory depends on your leadership. Do not let us down.
And so for now, I'm going to leave the battle cinematics on. Once we've seen everyone's animations, I'm probably going to set it so that the battle cinematics aren't on. It makes the game go by a little bit quicker, which will be nice, just because it is a very long game. So this is a practice battle. So even if our characters do get knocked out, we actually get to keep them. After this fight, anytime we lose a character, they die, they're gone for good. So we have to be very careful about how we play. So we're going to move Byleth here. We can actually see what Lawrence's attack range is. He's definitely going to be attacking her. We're going to get Mercedes right next to her. I'm also going to move Dimitri into the woods here. I'm going to switch him to a lance because he has a better chance with that weapon. Move Dudu up just outside of Dorothea's range. And I'm going to move Ash up. Nobody's going to hit him.
And I will dismantle the opposition.
Me? But I'm not ready.
Professor, if you drop your guard, you're gonna get hurt.
Dorothea, will you head toward the front lines?
Leave it to me. Ferdinand, Hubert, if the enemy comes, stop them.
I could do this on my own.
Clearly not, or Her Highness would not ask me to watch your back.
So this is an interesting process for the Black Eagles house. So generally speaking, you don't want to put your mages on the front line, and that's exactly what they did with Dorothea. And now she's going to get crushed.
Very capable.
Sufficient.
Way to go, Dudu.
I've lost? Oh, unthinkable.
Oh yeah, no, we're not having Mercedes fight him. Move Dimitri up real quick. See how much he does with his iron lance, his iron sword. There we go.
I've lost.
So I like how we knocked Ignatz out and he smiled.
Well done, Teach. I have to take this seriously after all.
So we're pretty much already knocking the Golden Deer down. The Black Eagles are here. They are going to get a stat boost just because of, for some reason, I guess. No matter which house you choose, you're going to have an enemy on this side and an enemy on this side. You'll always start on this side of the map. If you go over to the team that's hiding here, which is usually, but not always, the Golden Deer, they have this nice little barricade here so they can attack you from a range. Meanwhile, the house that's over here, which is normally the Blue Lions, but on this playthrough it's the Black Eagles, they get like some kind of weird stat buff because you're approaching them. So we are going to send our entire team over here. Mercedes is going to move up and do what she does best, and heal. And you'll notice little hearts coming up. That actually is our boost to our supports. So move Byleth, we'll move Ash, and then Dedu is going to chill right here. So we can actually, like he said, take a detour. We can go right through here and go around. The downside to that is the Black Eagles are going to be attacking us and we're going to be fighting off enemies from two fronts. Alternatively, we can go all the way around here. The downside to that is, of course, they're able to attack us from there. Something else that we can do, though, is destroy their barricade.
You'll feel better.
Claude, please. This is no time for idle banter. Your defenses are wide open.
So the downside to what I just did, you'll notice that my hit rate is really low because the characters are in the forest. That kind of gives them an advantage stat-wise. The thing is, Claude is an archer, and therefore he can't attack from a distance. So we kind of gave ourselves an advantage over him as well. He's going to have to move out of the forest in order to attack us. And that's going to take away his bonuses to avoid. So we got a nice little level up for Dimitri there. We're going to have Mercedes go ahead and heal again. Although Mercedes can fight, we're probably going to have her focus on healing just because it'll help her build up her faith stat. Oh, Hilda hits hard. Alright, and we're sending in Dimitri. I'm going to use Tempest Lance again. He has a 69 on Hilda. And there we go.
Is that all?
We're going to go ahead and take down the fence there. And look at that, we got Mercedes to level 2. And she got a terrible level up. Like, it wasn't horrible. It got her two most important stats, her magic and her speed, but that's all she developed. So we're going to finish off Claude here with Dedu. And there we go, another level up. Boy, we're getting some really bad level ups this playthrough. So Ash needs some serious healing. We're going to use the Volinary now. Start to move Dimitri up. Just realized that I didn't need to do that because we have Mercedes available if she still has uses of heal. She does. We'll move Byleth up just a little bit, and we're good to go. So our next opponent here is Hahnemann. Hahnemann has Sagittae, which is a really powerful spell, and he can hit us from a range. Makes him kind of dangerous. He also has Wind. It's a very weak spell, but it has a really high speed, meaning that he can use it and probably hit double on us. So he's somebody that we're going to want to make sure that everybody can hit him as quickly as possible and take him out. He drops an intermediate seal. We're not going to be using that anytime soon, but it does help us get our characters into new classes. So let's see. We can send Ash up. We'll strike him with the bow. Yeah, we can't take too many hits from him. Send Dimitri back in. And then I made a terrible mistake, and Byleth cannot hit him. We may actually lose somebody before we finish this. Nope, we're going to make it. I'm going to check everyone's level real quick. Ash is still a level 1, Byleth's level 3. I'm going to start moving to due out this way, and I'm going to let Ash get the final blow.
So far left to go.
Ash is the very best, like no one ever was. He's getting those stats. We'll move Byleth up, and it looks like Dimitri is not doing well. This is a heal tile plus, so as long as he stands on it, every single turn, he regains HP.
Professor, the only choice in this situation is a head-on attack.
So I believe the Black Eagles are now gaining a stat boost. They might not, though. No, they definitely are. You can't really see it, but all of their stats have been buffed, except for Edelgard's, so they're going to deal additional damage when we fight them. So we're going to heal Dimitri real quick, because he's getting low. Oh! And Mercedes just activated her crest, the crest from Lamine. So whenever she uses it, there's a chance that her spells will last, so she gets an extra heal, basically, which makes her the best white mage in the game. And to do here, go after Hubert. We may very well have him use a combat art. Nah, we're just going to have him hit like regular. Preserve our weapon uses. Ow! Okay, so we have to take him out quickly. And here goes Ash being amazing again.
Suppose I'll have to call it a day.
So Hubert was probably the most dangerous enemy we had to deal with there. After this, it's going to be pretty easy. We are really taking a beating though.
Give up.
Alright, so Ferdinand is down, and we're going to start to move Dimitri, who's going to switch to his sword, Novolinary, and Byleth, who could also use a little bit of healing. That's it for our turn. So Edelgard does not seem to want to approach us. We're going to have to go after her. Boom. Oh, and I may have made another mistake. Alright, we're moving to due out. Next up is Ash. So Byleth is actually about to get knocked out. Oh, activated that Mystery Crest. So it looks like with the Mystery Crest, whenever we do damage, we also get healed. Oh! Byleth is getting a good level up. She's still definitely leaning more towards a melee class, but we might actually be able to do Byleth as a mage and be pretty reliable. I'm going to let Dimitri here finish off Edelgard.
Finally settle the question of who's stronger.
Very well. I accept the challenge.
And it would appear that Dimitri and Edelgard have a pre-established rivalry from before the game began. Claude also implied that there might be an attraction between the two of them. That may or may not come up in the story later.
I must keep aiming higher.
Dimitri got our best level up so far. Dimitri's a beast. So based on what you guys have seen so far, who would you say is your favorite character? Ooh. So Manuela, every time we hit her, she's actually regaining HP. But that's not going to matter at this point, because we finished her off.
All right, that's that.
Dorothea is, she actually, I believe, within 3 months of the game coming out, online data showed that she was the most used character. She's the most deployed, so everybody loves Dorothea. She is a good mage. She's actually a very powerful unit. She's not the best at anything. She kind of has middling stats, and she takes a lot of work to put into. She is, however, the de facto dancer in the class. She's the best support unit you can possibly have. She's also just really fun. So there we go. We won the mock battle. We're going to have a little celebration with our party.
Serve as both a victory celebration and
I'm invited? This is Bila's first time having friends.
Right, he really is.
Attacks. Your tactics were nearly decent.
Felix, you really ought to.
all to speak freely. The professor's tactics were truly extraordinary.
Oh, sure. But it's exhausting. I'm so hungry I can barely stand.
To be honest, so...
Professor, I'm sorry to intrude, but you don't look too happy for someone who just... Well... such joys. I'm sorry for prying. I know we only just met, so this may be... fleeting, after all. We're all in this together.
Well, at least Dimitri is nice enough to ask for consent. It feels like he just proposed to us. So I believe we have one last bit of dialogue, yep, with Reyes and Sedith. After this, we'll go to the save menu screen.
Well, I do hope you were able to use the occasion to bond with the students. I'm so happy to hear it. Nothing pleases me more than if you use this coming year to grow close.
Rhea wants us to be very close to our students. Rhea is just kind of creepy.
During the long-held tradition that is the coming battle.
As your mission for the month ahead, your class is to discover some bandits causing trouble nearby.
So there you go. We've been a teacher for less than a month, and Rhea is telling us that we are going to take a bunch of children to kill some bandits. That's what we do in school. We send children to fight our battles.
Deadline. Understood. I will soon provide you with the necessary details for your first... I despise repeating myself.
In your heart.
thanks, I think?
They say.
Oh, and here's Sothis talking to us.
You shall not fall so shamelessly again. No words for me? Do not tell me that you are shocked to hear from me.
So we have a very angry child living inside our head.
Hear my voice should not come as a shock.
What is this nonsense? I was told to kill as many noble pipsqueaks as possible. Being on our trail.
You have proven yourself worthless, distracted by something so trivial.
The creepy person in the mask sounds really familiar, but I just can't quite place my finger on it.
Hiring a mercenary. What was that woman thinking?
How do we finish this? What?
Your mistake. One you will pay for. The road to it.
Wait! Get back here! Damn you!
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually the end of the stream for tonight. So once again, thank you all for being here. It was really great to have you all along for the journey. I will be streaming again tomorrow at probably 6 p.m. again. Once again, totally get it if you can't make it. That's perfectly fine. That's totally acceptable. I know that everybody has lives and you're kind of busy. I believe that with the way things look tonight, most of the streams will be about 2 hours long each. And I will be uploading them to YouTube after the fact if you do want to stay in. Of course, you don't have to do that either. It's just, yeah, if you want to check in, feel free. Awesome. I'm going to keep everybody up to date as to when I'm streaming. There will be a couple days that I probably don't. But once again, have a great night, everyone. Loved having you here, and I will see you next time.